Hello students, I welcome you all to this session. I am Vaishali Kikan, Assistant Professor, Electronics and Communication Engineering Department at KIIT Group of Institutions. Today in this session, we will be seeing the introduction to the ion implantation technique. So I have already discussed about the ion implantation and diffusion process differences in the previous video. I hope you all have seen that video. There only I introduced what was ion implantation, how we can perform the ion implantation. So let's first begin with the history of the ion implantation. The idea was proposed by Shockley in the year 1954 but used for mass production only after late 1970s. Before ion implantation, doping is achieved by diffusion into the bulk silicon from gaseous sources above the surface or pre-deposited chemical sources on wafer surface. So diffusion was very popular at that times. This approach lacks the flexibility and control required by CMOS processing, and ion implantation quickly gained popularity for the introduction of dopant atoms. I was talking about all of the advantages associated with the ion implantation process in the previous video only. You can see why it became so popular. What are all the advantages associated with it? Modern ion implanters were originally developed from particle accelerator technology. I told you that we require the bombardment of the ions on the substrate. For that we require the particle accelerator technology. Their energy range spans 100 electron volt to several mega electron volt, a few nanometers to several microns in depth range. So the implementation is always followed by a thermal activation. So whenever we have implantation, so after the implantation, I told you that we have surface damage, and how we can recover with the damage. We can recover with the damage with the help of a process called annealing. We will be talking about the annealing process in the next video, but let me tell you that we have the thermal activation at the temperature 600 to 1100. This is a quite lower temperature than the diffusion process. So here you can see again it is a low temperature process. And then the diffusion, of course. Now the diffusion was isotropic process. It cannot independently control the dopant profile and dopant concentration. It was replaced by ion implantation after its introduction in mid 1970s. So it was first used to dope semiconductor. It performed in high temperature furnace. It was using silicon dioxide mask. It's still used for dopant drive in R&D on ultra shallow junction formation. So we have actually talked a lot about the diffusion in the previous videos. I hope you all have seen all of the things. I discussed actually all of the things related to this. Okay, so you can go to the previous videos. So here you can see how we can have the diffusion process. We have dopant oxide. I was talking about all of the oxides. I was talking about boron oxide, phosphorus oxide. So we will be having a dopant oxide. We will be putting the dopant oxide on our wafer. So here on the wafer we will be having the dopant oxide. So this is the mask. After the mask we have silicon dioxide. So in the silicon dioxide masked area we will not be having any kind of penetration, but in the unmasked area the dopant oxide will be reacting with silicon to form silicon dioxide, and the dopant will be penetrating inside. So you can see here again, here we will be having oxidation, and the dopant will be penetrating inside. So here we will be getting the doped junction. So this is the drive-in process. So then after that we have a stripping and cleaning process. We will be cleaning off all of the remaining things that are left. So I told you diffusion was a dirty process. We have to perform the cleaning. If we don't perform the cleaning, then we can have some unwanted material which will be diffusing inside. So we don't want that. We don't want our concentration of the dopant to be varying inside the silicon substrate. So we want a higher controllability, so that we can have a controlled site. So controlled junction we want to make, but for that we have to make sure that we have a highly clean environment. So then we have ion implantation technique. It is used for atomic and nuclear research. Its idea was introduced in 1950s, and it was used in semiconductor manufacturing in 70s. Then it can independently control dopant profile and dopant concentration. So it is having anisotropic dopant profile. It is easy to achieve high concentration dope of heavy dopant atoms such as phosphorus and arsenic. So in the case of diffusion, it was very difficult to have high concentration of phosphorus and arsenic, which are heavy metals. So the penetration with the help of diffusion process was very difficult, which can easily achieved with the help of ion implantation. So we can have misalignment of the gate based upon the difference in the junction. So if I have more lateral diffusion, then the gate can misalign also. This can also cause an error. So we can, I told you, we can have the ion implantation of phosphorus. So high energy phosphorus ions are bombarded on the surface of p-type silicon. So here we can have n-type of junctions which are created with the help of ion implantation technique. Then we can have stopping mechanisms. If my electrons or ions of phosphorus are very high in speed, then whenever they are penetrating inside the substrate, then what will happen? They have to stop. And how they will be stopping? There are two types of stopping mechanism. So first is nuclear stopping and second is electronic stopping, and we will be talking about both of them. So ions penetrate into the surface, collide with the lattice atoms, and they gradually lose their energy and then stop. So we have two types of stopping mechanism. First is nuclear stopping, second is electronic stopping. In the nuclear stopping, we have the collision with the nuclei of the lattice atom, and then our atoms will be scattered significantly. The ions which are coming in the high speed, they can collide with the nuclei. Nuclei are already having very high mass. They can collide with the higher mass nuclei and they can scatter significantly. Okay, when two high mass particles are colliding, the momentum transfer would be there and there will be having significant scattering. Then it causes crystal structure damage also. Then we have electronic stopping, in which collisions are there with the electrons. We know if we have an atom, in the middle of the atom we have nuclei, and in the surrounding of the atom we have electrons. So most of the time, in the 90% of the cases, if I have ions, it will be colliding with the electrons. In the very rare cases, nuclear stopping will be there. So collisions with electrons of the lattice atom, which is very predominant. So incident ion path is almost unchanged because the mass of the electron is very less and it is very difficult to change the scattering path of the ion with the help of collision of the electron, because it won't be transferring a lot of momentum in the collision process because its mass is very less. Energy transfer is very small. Crystal structure damage will be negligible in this case. So the total stopping power will be summation of nuclear stopping power plus the electronic stopping power. The nuclear stopping power is represented by Sn, electronic stopping power is represented by Se. So S total will be Sn plus Se. Now if I have low energy and high atom, so it's denoting the size of the atom, the ion implantation process, then we will be having mainly nuclear stopping. So whenever we have large size of atom, nuclear stopping will be there, but only in the case we have low energy. If we have high energy and low size of atom, then we can be having electronic stopping mechanism, which is more prominent. So here you can see in the diagram that what is happening. So here you can see we can have random collisions and S will be equal to Sn plus Se. So here this is the random collision where my ion will be colliding, it will be gaining energy, losing energy, and again it will be stopping at some particular point of time after losing all of its energy. Okay, then we can have a particular process in which we cannot have any kind of collision. So you can ask me that what happens when we don't encounter any ion or any nuclear or any electron to collide with. So in that case, this process is called channeling, and in the most cases, what can happen? Mostly it is colliding with the electrons. When mostly it is colliding with the electrons, the path will not be changed. It is not encountering any nuclei in this process, and it will be going deep inside the substrate. So this is the channeling. Now we have backscattering. Backscattering means it exactly hit at the center of the nuclei, and it will be having the direction towards the backward side. It will be having a perfect backward scattering. So these are two types of stopping mechanism. So here you can see, with the help of ion velocity, I have classified two types of stopping. In the smaller ion velocity, we will be using nuclear stopping. At the higher ion velocity, we will be using electronic stopping. So now you can see what is the electronic trajectory and projected range. So the ion trajectory will be the actual path which the ion has traveled, okay, in the collision process. But the projected range is the minimum distance from the surface to the point where it has stopped. So the trajectory is this path which ion has followed after various collisions, but the actual path, it is actually the displacement between the surface and the point where the ion has stopped. Okay, so I hope now you understood both of them. So the projected range, if I have a very high atom in the very high mass, then it will be having less projected range, because it will be having high mass and it will be having significant effect of stopping. But if I have smaller mass particle, it will be having larger projected range. You can see at the particular implantation energy, boron will be having highest projected range. After that, phosphorus, arsenic, then Sb. So then we can say with the help of masses, I can classify the projected range. So if I am increasing in the masses, projected range will be decreased. So now advantages of ion implantation: it is very precise dose control mechanism. It's excellent doping uniformity is achieved across the wafer, which is less than 1% variation across the 12-inch wafer. So, and from wafer to wafer also we can have uniformity. It is less dopant lateral diffusion. In the diffusion, I told you there is a big problem of the lateral diffusion. It is good for the small devices or the short channels. In high vacuum, it is a very clean process, which was a very big issue in the diffusion. Beside precise dose control, one can also control the profile, the peak depth and the spread range better than diffusion. Peak concentration always near the surface. Then we can have low temperature. At the low temperature also we can use the ion implantation process, and thus we can use photoresist as mask also. In the case of diffusion, we had to use silicon dioxide as the mask, but here photoresist can also be used as the mask. It's a wide selection of masking material like photoresist, oxide, polysilicon material will be there, because it's a low temperature process. It is less sensitive to surface cleaning procedures, and it is a very fast process. Its complex profiles can be achieved by multi-energy implants. But when I told you about multi-diffusion, that time I told you that there are having various disadvantages are there. So it is a very expensive process. We have very expensive equipments in this process. At higher dose values, throughput is less than diffusion. So chemical source pre-deposition on the surface will be there. Ion damage the semiconductor lattice. Not all the damage can be corrected by the annealing. I told you we can correct by the annealing process, but all of the damages cannot be controlled. Very shallow and very deep doping are difficult or impossible. Masking material can be knocked into the wafer, creating unwanted impurities. So when I am hitting with the high energy ions, sometimes mask also go inside the substrate, which are impurities, which will be changing the electronic properties, which we have to highly control. So it will be degrading the quality of interface. So it is used in the CMOS fabrication. We will be talking in detail about the CMOS fabrication later in some videos. I hope you understood each and everything. Still, if you have any doubt, you can reach out to me. I hope you will be joining me soon in the next video. Thank you so much.